have an evaluation with me, but I think you're always harder on your good people. And that's one thing that I wanted to do a better job of last year is really coaching the coaches. And I'm in a position to do that because I've got some good coaches. And that takes a lot of work. Coaching the coaches is harder than coaching the kids. There's no doubt.
This is Joe Martin, Executive Director, Texas High School Coaches Association. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast. Before we get started, a few updates regarding the spring of 2025. Just reminding you that our 25-26 THSCA membership is available to you on our website. And encourage you to sign up as soon as possible, and don't forget your liability insurance as you do that. Also, coaching school tuition is available on our website currently, and you can go to into the portal. You can go to our website and be able to sign up and get your tuition to coaching school, which will be in San Antonio. The Hall of Honor is July the 19th, and coaching school runs July 20 through 22, with a regional meeting being on July the 21st on that Monday, and our general meeting the 22nd. And just reminding you that those two meetings are not the same, and we encourage you to attend both of those meetings along with the 250 to 270 hours of professional development. We look forward to seeing you at coaching school. The sooner you sign up, the cheaper it is. And providing that you have membership going into coaching school, you'll be set and ready to go coming out of coaching school for the new school year 25-26. As you know, the 89th legislative session started in January. A lot of updates on our website, a lot of things that potentially can impact you, us, all of our coaches and athletics across the state of Texas. So stay tuned to our website. We will be involving updates through Sports U and sending legislative updates as we need you as this session grows beyond vouchers and the UIL bills that are out there. We will be fighting for you in our profession, and we need your help. So stay tuned. When we can get information to you, please respond as soon as possible. Have a great day. This is going to be a great podcast.
Hey coaches, did you know we're now offering shows for all sports? That's right, whether it's basketball, volleyball, softball, baseball, football, soccer, you name it, we've got you covered. If you're looking for a way to showcase your program, promote your players, and highlight the amazing things happening with your team, our coaches shows are the perfect solution. Plus, our business model lets you or your booster club raise money while building excitement and support for your program. Don't miss the opportunity to take your team's story to the next level. Find out how you can get your very own coaches show. Reach out to Chris at 713-269-4620 today. That's 713-269-4620, because every team deserves the spotlight. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Coach's Call. I'm Chris Daly, and as usual, I have some amazing guests today. First, I'm going to introduce Brian Gibson, the AD from Wink, and I'm going to let Brian introduce the other guest because he's going to be conducting. So, Coach Gibson, I'm just going to hand the mic over to you.
All right. Well, thank you for having us, Chris. I want to open up by thanking the Texas High School Coaches Association for allowing me to moderate this podcast and for bringing some great leaders from across the state. We're going to collaborate and share some ideas that we have. Joining us today will be Jason Richards from Muleshoe High School, Colby Davis from Lewisville High School, and Greg Voyles of Wink High School. Coaches, I want to turn the attention to you for just a second and let you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started. Coach Richards?
Yes, sir. First off, thanks again for doing this. I think this is a great tool that the THSCA has put together. My name is Jason Richards. I've been the athletic director and head football coach at Muleshoe for the past 5 years. Everybody thinks I'm crazy because I took this job from Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, where I was offensive coordinator for 6 years, but I'm originally from Clovis, New Mexico. So I had to get back to the wind and the cold. So I feel right at home.
I understand. Coach Davis?
Hey, everybody. Again, appreciate THSCA for having us on here, talk about some evaluations today. I am in my 20th year in the profession, coached basketball for the majority of that time, was a coordinator for 10 plus years, and now I'm the associate athletic director for Lewisville ISD. And I've been in this role for 3 years. We've got 400 plus coaches and 5 high schools and 15 middle schools.
Wow. Coach Voyles from Wink High School.
Yeah, Greg Voyles. I am the current defensive coordinator here at Wink. I'm in my 26th year of coaching. I was the AD, head football for 10 years. Did 7 years in Brackettville, 2 years in Nueces Canyon, and I made an assistant stop in Crane before I came over to Wink.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're going to talk about the end of season evaluation, that dreaded thing that all teachers and coaches really hate, but it can be a positive tool for growth. What we're going to do is we're just going to have a kind of a roundtable discussion. Feel free to add anything that you want to. I'm going to start off with Coach Richards and ask you, how important is it for self-reflection in this process of the evaluation? What areas should you focus on when evaluating your own performance?
Coach, that's a great question. And that's funny you bring that up because I had a meeting this morning with my associate head coach. And, things were going really good at Muleshoe High School until they weren't. We suffered a couple injuries and we had a really good football team. And one thing I did a bad job of when I first became an athletic director is there was some things that I don't want it to say negative that really weren't up to my standard or bothered me. And at a 3A high school, your DB coach goes to basketball and your offensive coordinator goes to basketball and the coaches are everywhere. One thing I did a bad job of is I waited kind of till the end of the year to do those evaluations. I think it's real important to do those evaluations and talk about growth immediately once that season is over, and maybe create some better habits or talk about what they're doing good. And we want to use our evaluation process as a tool of growth. I was a teacher for a long time too, and I don't want this to be an I got you. It's a growing tool, and every time I do an evaluation, I don't leave out stuff I got to get better at. And I think that helps create an environment where we're both growing.
Yes, that's very good. Coach Davis, when we do these evaluations with our peers, a lot of times that is felt an attack, a personal attack on them. What advice would you give to coaches who feel defensive or discouraged by negative evaluations?
I think that, like Coach just touched on a little bit, everything is an opportunity for growth. I think one thing about coaches, and you guys know as well as I do, we're going to be harder on ourselves than anybody else. I like what he said about saying things that we could do better as evaluators and athletic directors. But I think to me, it's not necessarily the negative feedback that maybe comes from the evaluation. It's the coach's response to that negative feedback. And to me, that tells me a whole lot more about the character of that coach versus maybe some shortcomings that they had during the year or things that we wanted to improve upon, is how they're going to attack that, again, with a growth mindset and an opportunity to get better.
I'm going to ask Coach Voyles this question because a lot of times in the smaller schools, finding time to have the conversation about the end of season evaluation, you run out of time to find that piece of conversation to grow. And I'm going to ask Coach Voyles how coaches can proactively seek feedback from their evaluators if it isn't offered.
Well, sometimes it's kind of a hard deal to get done, but the best way I see it is, ask your AD or ask coaches, hey, how's everything going in your eyes? Is it going well? Is there things I can improve on? Different things about your program that somebody else may see, hey, you may want to try this, you may want to try that. Just proactively get their opinion on your performance or your program's status.
All right, I'm going to go back to you, Coach Richards. As an athletic director and a head football coach, how do you use this conversation piece to build your relationship with your staff?
Well, Coach, I've been very fortunate. I've retained some really great coaches. We've been together for 5 years, and I've got a good mix. I've got young coaches that that's in their fifth year, and I've got some coaches that have been doing it 25 plus years. But I really want my coaches, and I'll be the first one to tell you. And when I'm wrong, I'll tell you when I'm wrong. And I think that's helped foster an open door policy with my coaches. I'm not going to correct a coach on the practice field, on the court, on the ball field. But I do think we've built a culture where they can come up and say, Coach, I don't think I handled that right. I don't think I had so-and-so in the right position, or, whatever comes, and we'll work it out. And I'm big enough to, I check my ego at the door with those guys, and I'll say, hey, I don't have an answer for you, but I'll get you one. And I think it's real big for our coaches to have mentors outside of our buildings. And I think that's something we've lost here lately, where when I was working for Brent Davis and Jim Slaughter and those guys, we didn't need an evaluation. We got told immediately when something wasn't right. But it's a different world, man. And you've almost got to treat the coaches like the kids, and I don't mean from a maturity standpoint, but you got to handle each one different. And I'm probably harder on my better coaches than I am my younger, more inexperienced coaches, and some of those guys probably should have an evaluation with me. But I think you're always harder on your good people. And that's one thing that I wanted to do a better job of last year is really coaching the coaches. And I'm in a position to do that because I've got some good coaches. And that takes a lot of work. Coaching the coaches is harder than coaching the kids. There's no doubt.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. Coach Davis, in a society today where it's a win now attitude and everybody demands success at an early age or early stage of the program, how can you take evaluations to go beyond wins and losses to really address culture, the player development, and the long-term program goals?
I think it's obviously, like you said, it's a win now society, but I think the intangibles are the things that are so important. The things sometimes that don't show up on the scoreboard. How are these coaches interacting with the community? How are they contributing to the overall campus culture? That's huge. We had a big, this past June, we had a coaches roundtable, and it was voluntary for coaches to come attend. And we had about 60 coaches attend that. And one thing that I think kind of spurred from those conversations is the impact and mental health of this, you got to win now, and how it affects the kids. And we had head coaches in there, we had assistant coaches, and they all were sharing how they were handling this within their programs. Because, obviously there's a ton of pressure on coaches to win, but there's an equal amount of pressure on kids to perform. And so having that open line of communication and being able to handle situations differently and giving kids tools to be able to cope with that. Sometimes I think we all want to look outside for these great coaches, but I'm pretty blessed to have some really great coaches in Lewisville ISD, and we really tend to lean on each other and learn from each other. And it's been some of the greatest professional development that we've been able to have.
Coach Voyles, in your experience, what are some of the key questions that evaluators should ask to foster a productive discussion?
Well, in my experience, as I'm evaluating, we're sitting there discussing things, I always ask them what they think or how their program went this year. Open the door to let them kind of critique themselves. That way you can step in and agree with them or disagree with them. It also allows just a little more non-formal discussion. Maybe they'll be a little more open about what they need to work on. Then you can touch base and hit on some things they need to work on or some things they're doing really good.
Okay. Coach Richards, staying on this topic of the role of the evaluator, do you have a specific piece, document that you use to guide your conversations with? Or is it more of just an informal conversation piece and you kind of document it at the end?
I do, Coach. And I struggled with that. And I came up with my own. I reached out to some other athletic directors that had a lot more experience than I do. And I finally found an evaluation report that I like. I got it from Cody Crane at Cattle Mills. It's pretty. I've moved forward to giving it to the coaches and they bring it back. And then, I'll do it myself. And I found that the coaches are kind of harder on themselves than what I would be. And I don't read it word for word, but it's pretty much an excellent, satisfactory, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory. And then it's got comments under each point of emphasis. And I don't go over all of it. But I found those coaches are pretty hard on themselves. And most of my evaluations end up, telling them how good of a job they are doing. And then, the things they want to work on, we try to build a process of working on those things.
Okay. Coach Davis, I've asked you a little bit about this, the elements of the effective evaluator. What role of transparency do you believe really plays an effective and constructive, fair evaluation for them? Are we completely honest with everything that has gone on? Are there certain things that the administration would prefer to, hold back? How much transparency do you really give the coaches in that?
I think transparency is huge to create an open line of communication between ADs and coaches. We need to foster trust and a culture of continuous improvement. Trust is big to me over it. When you're dealing with different coaches, unless you have built and established a relationship with those guys over the course of the year, they may not sit down and be truly honest with you on how they feel, and maybe won't be as transparent. But the more trust that you can build with those people and help them understand that you are there to help them grow. And like Coach said, we're here to coach coaches. I think that's the evaluations that I've found to be the best, are the ones that have some deep-rooted trust that has taken place.
So, speaking from coaches, it was, I was an assistant coach for many years as well, Coach Voyles. What would be your best advice that you would give coaches as they're preparing for their postseason, end of season evaluation? What advice would you give them in preparing for that?
Be open to suggestions. Don't feel like you're being criticized. Go into it looking for how to get better. The truth hurts sometimes. You're not doing a good job. It happens. Have an open mind. Go into it trying to learn from the experience. Everybody, at the end of the day, everybody wants to be better. So take that opportunity to learn and get better.
Yeah, Coach Richards, you had mentioned this a little bit already about how you've grown and learned how to be an evaluator, an effective evaluator. Would you care to share about anything where you might have mishandled an evaluation in the past, and what you learned personally from that experience of mishandling an evaluation?
I think, just growing as an athletic director, and how hard it is. I know your role is the exact same as mine, Coach Gibson. It's really hard to evaluate a men's basketball coach if you're just going to games. I got to get to practice. I've got to pop my head into off-season practice, and see the whole picture too, because all programs are at different places. We might go 10-10 or whatever it is in basketball, and that's a great year. With what the talent level and the amount of work, and we have our kids. We're very fortunate that my head coaches and my coordinators, we're 6 through 12. And, I really feel like our sub-varsities are the backbone of our program, and the competitive level will take care of itself if we do a great job at those sub-varsity levels. And, I'm probably harder on my coaches and how they handle junior high athletics and sub-varsity than I am varsity competition.
Coach Davis, what do you require of your coaches to bring to this meeting whenever you're having this end of season evaluation? Do you make them bring stats, player progress, culture profiles? What do you guys require of them?
I wouldn't say necessarily that we bring stats. One thing that we've started doing the last couple of years is we do a preseason evaluation. It is a short 3-question basically form that we send out, and we ask them a few questions. How do you intend to grow relationships with your stakeholders? How will you measure success this year? And what do you need from me? So those are the 3 things that we talk about. So obviously, when we get to the postseason evaluation, we expect them to come prepared to answer those questions. And, one of my favorite questions in our postseason evaluation is, how does it feel to be coached by you? And that's an opportunity for them to self-reflect. Again, I'm not too tied up with stats. I'm as involved as I can possibly be watching these coaches coach every day. And obviously we know how they've done as a team and how far they've advanced and things of that nature. So all of our coaches also do exit interviews with their staff and with their players. And I always appreciate the coaches that come and share a little bit of how their players felt to be coached by them and how their assistants felt to be coaching in their program.
So I'm going to wrap this up a little bit, and I'm going to start with Coach Voyles and kind of throw the same question to everyone here. What do you feel like the ultimate goal of this end of season evaluation needs to be from an administrative standpoint and also from a coach's standpoint?
I believe it's a good tool to grow within yourself as a coach and your program to grow. It's just like I said, it's a good tool to use to get better, to learn from, and to get better as an overall program.
Coach Richards, you got anything to add to that?
No, I think that's great. And I just want to hit on Coach Davis real quick. I think that preseason evaluation is a great idea. And I'd be interested in maybe shooting you an email when we get done with this and kind of pick your brain a little bit on that. But, I think the whole key is, as human beings, is to grow and get better. And that's what we're trying to do. And, I'm not trying to get coaches, but there are points where you got to have documentation too. If things aren't going the way they need to be going, and you don't want to just up and reassign or unfortunately get rid of a coach, you got to have that documentation. And I think adding that preseason piece could be something vital. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I think, I'm a big documentation guy, keeping the documentation. And then sometimes you got to revisit things, and I think I've probably gotten more out of my coaches' evaluations than they have. And I know it's been a positive growth tool, but this was great, guys. I really appreciate it, and some good ideas. And I'm glad we got Coach Davis on here, somebody a lot smarter than us, to teach us something.
Amen to that. Coach Davis, you got anything to add?
Ultimately, I want to make sure our visions are aligned. We're really, really big. And so it's important. Communication is crucial. So we want to make sure we're all on the same page. But one thing I want to make sure that young coaches understand is that evaluations are an opportunity for us to identify leadership potential, whether that be assistant coaches to be head coaches or maybe positions in future athletic administration. So, don't just dismiss it as this is I got to get that evaluation done, because you're building your resume every day, and it tells us a lot in how those evaluations go.
Yep. Once again, I'd like to thank the THSCA for this opportunity to collaborate with some of the best leaders. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. Hope we're able to provide some valuable insight. Feel free to reach out to any of us anytime that you want. And I'm going to send it back to you, Chris.
Appreciate that, Coach Gibson. And I appreciate the heck out of everybody who's been a part of this, because you're right. This is valuable information. And I love this format where we can get a whole bunch of input from people who live it, whose boots are on the ground. And nothing better. I appreciate all y'all. Hey, of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You do it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coach's Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Daly, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call. The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com. Get ready to tee off with the legends of Texas sports. That's right, the TLSN Legends Golf Classic, a day of golf, glory, and giving back. It will be held at the Great Hills Country Club in Austin, Texas, Sunday, September 15th. Registration 11 a.m., tee time around noon, award ceremony at 6 p.m. Who's invited? Everyone. Fans, friends, alumni, business leaders, and golf lovers. If you have any interest in golf, this is the must-attend golf tournament. Whether you're swinging for birdies or just soaking up the stories, this is a can't-miss event. What can you expect? A round of golf with Texas sports legends. A premium course experience at Great Hills, awards, prizes, and exclusive photo ops. Food, drinks, unforgettable memories. The full details will be coming soon, as well as the lineup of legends who will be the captains for each team. To stay in the loop and to keep updated on player announcements, sponsor reveals, and ticket availability, go to texaslsn.org. That's texaslsn.org. The TLSN Legends Golf Classic.